So yeah, live streaming is a little bit more complicated than expected to get everything set up and working right. So I think I have it working now. And it's a little bit behind. So I decided to use some software called Streamlabs to do the live streams just to make things simpler. And so it looks like it resets everything when you start. So I'm using my iPhone to do the camera part, and it's actually, my computer is where I set everything up. So, but now we're working. So probably not a whole lot of exciting things on this video. I'm just getting used to working everything and trying to get comfortable with everything and being able to be myself. So yeah, it looks like I know how to do it. If you know me, I need to set up a workflow for this because there's a lot of steps. But I have it working. So I was going to talk a little bit about Cambigo today. That's the app that I'm looking at building and why I'm looking at building it. So this application, when I moved from just developing technology as a software developer into the informatics side of things, I became more focused on the overall process, not just the computerized technical part, but the entire process from start to finish. Because a lot of times I was building, early stages of my career, I was about, what do you want built? We will build it. And so it didn't really matter whether it fit and everything worked or not. It was just, is this what you want? We're going to build it. So you could make bad decisions, and I wouldn't necessarily say anything about that because, my position at that point in time was that, I'm the software developer. I just build what you want, and everybody else has to figure out why you want it and things like that. And so things evolved as I got into informatics, where I appreciated being in this role of, yes, we need to build this technology, but I want to make sure that it works and actually improves things, because I started to discover that technology could make things worse and more complicated and cause problems for many reasons. Like, even if it's not available, what happens? So that's why I really got deep into the informatics side of things, because now I was looking at this ecosystem of people in an organization who use technology to really just manage information and get access to things when you need it and store the right things when it's time to capture things. So I got really into this workflow aspect of things, looking at what the process is now and getting that documented, because I learned that if you talk to 10 different people, there's going to be 10 different perspectives on how that work's done. So in that case, if you were trying to build a piece of software off of those 10 discussions, it would be wildly different depending on the person that you talk to and the piece they're involved in. And you could go back and talk to the same person a week or two from now and get a different perspective on what they do. Not because they don't know what they're doing, but because as they look at things multiple times, then they start to identify things that they left out, small details that are really important that they may have missed. So documenting that process end to end is something that I've been doing for like well over a decade now. And then as time went on, it became more important to, where do we want to be, and start looking at that. There's a lot of conflict that can come up out of that particular aspect of things, like how do you want to build it, or what do you need to do? People will have differing opinions on what needs to be built. So depending on who you talk to, again, is like, what do you need to do? So documenting that to be workflow aspect of things is extremely important. identifying those areas for conflict and working through that piece. And the next complication is building a system to support all of that, or multiple pieces of a system may have to be updated. Over time, there's changes. So what you discussed at one point in time in 6 months may have changed slightly. People may have had new realizations, and so you need to make even more corrections from there. Once you do your initial release, you're going to get feedback on those different pieces, and you're going to have to continue to make adjustments. So that, like, it's a years long process. It never ends. The technology may change along the way. Somebody finds a new product or something new that helps. And now you've got another aspect, another dimension of changing that is happening over time. So the reason why it feels really complicated is because you have these differing perspectives. Humans just have evolving understanding of what they do and what other people do. The technology is changing. The business can be changing. The funding for those things can be changing. So what I wanted to build, everywhere I've gone, I've had to start from scratch every time to build the tools in order to start capturing these things and put it together. And I've always wished that I had an application that could encompass all of these pieces and help me through developing a plan, keeping up with what's changing, involving people in those changes, so that as they think of things, they can contribute to it and we can make updates. So Cambigo is going to be the product that allows me to start those conversations for tracking where we are, where we want to be, and letting that over time, even for the whole life of either a process or what you do in your business, you'll be able to see how you evolve over time. And if you need to go back and figure out why you are where you are, or why you made a certain change, you'll have all of those details. And so, again, I can piece it together. I can pull together the tools. Sometimes those use a lot of my effort in order to keep up to date, and I even lose track of, managing those changes over time and communicating that to people. So this will be about being able to do those things, pulling a group together. I mean, I'll say I used Lucid Chart for a number of years in a past position, and I was able to pull groups of people together and talk through problems and chart out very complex, the systems were complex. We knew there were problems. We didn't know exactly where those problems came from. But I was able to use that and documentation and things like that to kind of guide those conversations and get to the answers of what the problems were. And people are like, wow, this was a complicated problem that we worked through and we were able to figure it out. So a lot of people enjoyed that process a lot more than just having abstract conversations where people's opinions, people had their perspectives on why something was a problem, but that wasn't necessarily the reality once you would start stepping through it. So it was very helpful. I've used documents, I've used GitHub issues and things like that to navigate through problems, but nothing ever was really perfect. So I want to do that. I want to do what I do in that application and basically take people through it so that they can work with it. So I've started the initial interface. There's a core part of it, and that is the diagramming part of it, getting it in, laying it out, making sure that things are smooth so that you're able to have a conversation and also add as you go. So I'm taking some time to get that piece right. And that's going to be the first part that I share. My plan is to have it so that you can build the basics of a workflow and then export that to a file so that you don't have to save it online. That way, if there's something that's private or if I have to change the application, I'm not necessarily worried about the database. So you'll be able to export your workflow and load that in later. And then that way, as I update and you come back, you can load that file into the application and actually work with that piece. There won't be any logins. I do want to have a way to be able to limit the access as far as I don't want 10,000 people showing up, which would be awesome, but I don't want 10,000 people to be able to use the system right now. So just a handful of people at a time. And the data would stay local to your computer, so it wouldn't be uploading to servers out on the internet. That way, if you put information in there, not necessarily that's private, but you wouldn't want stored in a database, especially since things aren't finished, you'll be able to load that diagram in there and pull it out. So at the end of the month, my plan is to work through getting it set up, share it, and then you can use it and provide feedback and start building workflows. There's one aspect that I'm going to be looking at over the next week, and that is how to do it collaboratively, so that if you have 5 people in different places, you can pull them all together on the screen and work on the same diagram at the same time, which is one of those key things that I want to be able to do. What I don't know is whether that's something that's going to be available until it's actually in some sort of more advanced beta of the system itself. So at least you will be able to open it, build a workflow on your own. You can have share your screen, have a conversation around it, build that diagram, and export that into a file that you can load later. It will only be used in the application. Again, I'm looking at making sure I've got the interface right. At some point, there will be ways to get that information out in Word documents or PDFs, that kind of thing, so that you can use it for other projects that you have and export a snapshot of the overall workflow. So that's where I am. I just wanted to try out a live stream, make sure I have this down, and it looks like I've got it working. We'll find out later. The audio may be horrible. I have no idea, but that's today. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. That will really help me. And that's it. Talk to you later. Bye.